Hello, everyone. Welcome to my English Learning Podcast. Today, I want to share something very personal with you. I want to tell you about my own experience moving to a new country as a child. When I was 7 years old, my family moved to the United States. It was one of the biggest challenges of my life. But it was also one of the most important experiences that shaped who I am today. I want to share this story because I know many of you might have similar experiences. Or maybe you know children who are going through this journey right now. My story shows that even when things feel impossible, we can go stronger. My life before America. I was born in the USA, but soon after, my family decided to move to Italy, Sicily, where I grew up until 7. I lived in a small town with my parents. Life was simple and beautiful. I knew every street in my neighborhood. I had my favorite ice cream shop. I played with the same children every day. My grandmother lived very close to us. She cooked amazing pasta for me every Sunday. I felt safe and loved. Everything in my world made sense. I spoke Italian perfectly. I was a confident, happy child. The big news. One evening, when I was 7 years old, my parents called me to the living room. They looked serious. My heart started beating fast. I thought I was in trouble. "Maria," my father said, "we have something important to tell you. We are moving to America." Dad found a job there. I didn't understand what this meant at first. America seemed like a place from movies. It wasn't real to me. "When are we coming back?" I asked. "We're going to live there," my mother explained gently. "It will be our new home." That night, I cried in my bed. I didn't want a new home. I liked my old home. Why did we have to leave everything I loved? Saying goodbye, the weeks before leaving Italy were very emotional. I had to say goodbye to my best friend, Francesca. We promised to write letters to each other. We didn't understand how far America really was. Saying goodbye to my grandmother was the hardest part. She hugged me so tight. She gave me a little cross necklace. "This will protect you in America," she whispered. I still wear that necklace today. I packed my favorite toys in a small suitcase. I chose my most important books, but I had to leave so many things behind. Each goodbye felt like losing a piece of my heart. The journey to America. The airplane ride was my first time flying. I was scared and excited at the same time. Everything looked so small from the window. Italy became smaller and smaller until I couldn't see it anymore. When we landed, I couldn't believe how big everything was. The airport was enormous. There were so many people. Everyone was talking, but I couldn't understand them. The sounds were different. The smells were different. Even the air felt different. I held my mother's hand very tight. I felt like I was on a different planet. My new reality. Our new apartment in America was bigger than our house in Italy, but it felt cold and empty. My room had no personality. The walls were white. There were no pictures. It didn't feel like my room. The first night was terrible. I couldn't sleep. I listened to strange sounds outside. Cars honking, people talking loudly. In Italy, our town was quiet at night. Here, the city never slept. I missed my grandmother's voice. I missed the smell of her cooking. I missed my old bed and everything about my old life. I felt lost and alone. Starting school, my biggest fear. Starting school in America was my greatest challenge. In Italy, I was a smart student. I always raised my hand. I helped other children with their homework. I felt confident and capable. But in America, I knew only a few English words. Hello, thank you, yes, no. That was almost everything. How could I go to school with just 4 words? On my first day, my mother walked me to the classroom. The teacher, Mrs. Smith, was very kind. She smiled and spoke slowly, but I understood almost nothing. She introduced me to the class. "This is Maria from Italy," she said. 20 pairs of eyes stared at me. I wanted to hide. I felt my face turned red. I looked at the floor. The silence of loneliness. For the first months, I was almost silent at school. I understood more than I could say, but speaking felt impossible. The words got stuck in my throat. At lunchtime, I sat alone. I watched other children laughing and playing together. They spoke so fast. Their English sounded like music, but music I couldn't understand. Sometimes children tried to talk to me. They spoke slowly and used hand gestures. They were trying to be kind, but I felt embarrassed about my accent. I was afraid they would laugh at me. I felt invisible, like I was there but not really there. I existed in a world of silence while everyone else lived in a world full of words. The struggle with language. Every day felt like a language test I was failing. At home, we spoke Italian. My parents were learning English too, but slowly. At school, everything was English. I lived between 2 worlds. Sometimes I knew exactly what I wanted to say in Italian, but finding English words was impossible. This made me feel frustrated and stupid. I wasn't stupid, but language made me feel that way. Math class was easier because numbers are the same everywhere, but reading class was a torture. The letters looked familiar, but the sounds were different. English spelling made no sense to me. I started having headaches from thinking so hard all day. My brain was working double time, listening, translating, trying to understand. It was exhausting. Small acts of kindness. Then something beautiful happened. There was a girl in my class named Sarah. She had curly red hair. She always smiled at me, even when I didn't smile back. One day, Sarah sat next to me at lunch. She opened her sandwich and gave me half. She pointed to herself and said, "Sarah." She pointed to me and said, "Maria." It was simple, but it was friendship. Sarah became my first American friend. She was patient with my broken English. She laughed with me, not at me, when I made mistakes. She made me feel less alone. Mrs. Smith also showed me special kindness. She gave me extra time on tests. She used simple words when talking to me. She celebrated every small progress I made. Her kindness gave me hope. My first success. After 4 months in America, I had my first big victory. We were studying animals in science class. Mrs. Smith asked, "Who can tell me where elephants live?" I knew the answer. I had learned this in Italian school. I raised my hand slowly. My heart was pounding. "Africa," I said quietly. "That's correct, Maria," Mrs. Smith said with a big smile. The class clapped for me. I felt proud and happy. It was just 1 word, but it felt like winning a prize. That day, I realized I could do this. Learning English was possible. I wasn't as helpless as I thought. I had knowledge in my brain. I just needed to find the English words for it. Discovering my strengths. Slowly, I started noticing things I was good at. Our class was wonderful. I drew pictures of Italy for my classmates. They loved seeing my drawings. I was also good at helping other children with math. Numbers were my friends. When I helped someone solve a problem, I felt useful and smart again. Sarah taught me English words, and I taught her Italian words. Ciao became popular in our class because of me. I felt proud to share my language and culture. I realized I wasn't just learning English, I was keeping my Italian strong too. I was becoming bilingual. That made me feel special, not different. Building confidence. By the end of my first year, I could have simple conversations. I still made mistakes, but I wasn't afraid to try. Making mistakes was part of my learning, not something to fear. I joined the school art club. Art gave me a way to express myself when words weren't enough. I painted pictures of Italy and America together. It showed how I felt, connected to both places. Sarah invited me to her birthday party. I was nervous, but excited. I practiced saying happy birthday many times. When I said it at the party, everyone cheered. I felt included and accepted. My confidence grew with each small success. I learned that courage isn't about not being scared. Courage is about doing things even when you are scared. Becoming a bridge between two worlds. As my English improved, I became a translator for my parents. When they needed to talk to doctors or teachers, I helped them. This made me feel important and mature. I also became a cultural bridge at school. I taught many classmates about Italian holidays. I brought Italian cookies to share. I showed them where Italy was on the map. During Christmas, I sang Italian carol for my school concert. My parents cried with pride. My classmates applauded. I felt the beauty of sharing my heritage with others. I learned that having two cultures wasn't confusing. It was enriching. I could celebrate American Thanksgiving and Italian Easter. I could love both hamburgers and pasta. Lessons from my journey. My experience taught me valuable lessons that I carry today. First, change is scary, but it leads to growth. Without moving to America, I wouldn't be the same person I am now. I learned that kindness is a universal language. Sarah's smile and Mrs. Smith's patience spoke louder than words. They showed me that goodness exists everywhere. I discovered that making mistakes is how we learn. Every wrong word I said brought me closer to saying it right. Perfection isn't a goal, progress is. Most importantly, I learned that we are stronger than we think. Children are incredibly resilient. We adapt, we survive, we even thrive in new environments. The beautiful outcome. Moving to America at 7 years old was the hardest and most important thing that ever happened to me. It broke my heart and then made it bigger. That scared little girl who couldn't speak English became a confident woman who teaches English to others. My struggle became my strength. My challenge became my calling. I want every child going through this experience to know you will be okay, more than okay. You will be extraordinary. Your journey is creating the amazing person you are becoming. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share this personal part of my life with you. I hope it brings hope to anyone facing similar changes. Remember, we are all more resilient than we know. Moving countries taught me that home is not just where you come from, it's also where you choose to grow. Until next time, keep believing in yourself, keep learning, and keep building bridges between worlds.